Are your people working hard but not reaching their full potential? The problem is not effort, it is development. At the Modern Observer Group, we transform workforce development into real performance. Our human-centered achievement programs help your team think better, communicate stronger, and execute at a higher level. That means higher employee engagement, stronger leadership, and measurable results across your organization. If you want a workforce that performs, leads, and delivers, it is time to invest in your people. Visit modernobserver.com and discover how the Modern Observer Group helps you build a workforce that wins.
The FBI halts a plan to attack Freedom 250. Global leaders arrive for the G7 summit, the best housing markets, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. The FBI says agents disrupt a planned attack on Sunday's UFC Freedom 250 event at the White House, with 5 people now charged in a multi-state terror operation. Court documents say the group planned to fly explosive-laden drones over the north side of the White House, trigger a mass evacuation, then open fire on the fleeing crowd with pre-staged snipers. A second wave allegedly planned to storm the gate. The FBI learned of the threat on June 10th, 4 days before the event. A 19-year-old Ohio man faces attempted murder charges after allegedly helping coordinate the plot. Investigators have identified 23 suspected plotters as part of a broader network. The investigation remains active, with additional suspects still at large. Senate Republicans halted another attempt to handcuff President Donald Trump's war authority in Iran as a peace deal begins to take shape. The latest failed war powers resolution, this time from Senator Raphael Warnock, the Democrat from Georgia, comes after Trump signed a memorandum of understanding with the Iranian government that could lead to an end to the war. While Congress is still in the dark on the details of the deal, Republicans stood behind the president Tuesday. Senator Tim Kaine, Democrat from Virginia, who has led the Democrats' war powers efforts for the last several months, argued that while a possible deal was a good thing, it appeared the U.S. and Iran would be headed to an intermission in fighting, as both sides hammered out the final details of a longer peace deal. Leaders of the US, UK, France, Germany, Italy, Canada, and Japan arrived in France to discuss the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East, artificial intelligence, and other issues. With the US and Iran having tentatively agreed to halt hostilities, attendees hoped they would be able to refocus President Trump's attention on Ukraine's defense against Russia. Leaders, including Trump, signaled they could reimpose sanctions on Russian oil. French President Emmanuel Macron will host a dinner with President Trump at Versailles on Wednesday to celebrate the U.S.'s 250th birthday. Macron's office told the Associated Press on Saturday that the dinner will be held at the palace, a historic symbol of Franco-American friendship. Macron invited Trump to the dinner in April. The palace is used to host heads of state and foreign dignitaries, having once been the home of French kings until Louis XVI. Federal prosecutors have charged 15 Minnesota residents with what they described as a conspiracy to violently oppose immigration enforcement during last year's Operation Metro Surge. The conspiracy was not to interfere by their voice, but to do it by force. That's a crime, and it will not be tolerated in the United States, U.S. Attorney for Minnesota Daniel Rosen said at a press conference. The indictment alleges the defendants were part of a group or subgroups of Direct Action Minnesota and used signal chats to coordinate efforts to follow agents and interfere with immigration arrests and operations. A top Southern Poverty Law Center official has been accused of directing $1.2 million in donations to an informant placed inside a white supremacist group who is also allegedly her lover, the New York Post reported yesterday. The report follows a recent superseding indictment filed by the Department of Justice against the SPLC, accusing the nonprofit of redirecting donor money to the alleged hate groups they purported to be fighting. The states with the best affordability for home buyers and that are facilitating the most construction of new homes are centered in the Midwest and South, according to a new report. Realtor.com released the 2026 edition of its housing report cards for all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia, which shows that states across the Midwest and South outperformed their peers from the Northeast and West. Indiana topped the list, earning an A based on strong affordability and home building activity that helped it rise 3 spots from last year's rankings. Iowa, South Carolina, Texas, and North Carolina rounded out the top 5. New York ranked last, with the bottom of the list consisting of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Hawaii, California, and Connecticut. Johnson & Johnson announced a $55 billion U.S. investment push that spotlights growing confidence in U.S. manufacturing. We have the best talent, we have the best investment environment, and very importantly, we have now the tax policy enacted with this administration that has enabled us to be competitive, CEO Joaquin Duato said on Tuesday. Now we can create high-skilled jobs, we can invest in America, and we can be competitive, he added. The CEO credited Trump tax policies, top talent, and a strong investment environment. Yum Brands on Tuesday announced it's selling Pizza Hut to private equity firm Long Range Capital for roughly $1.5 billion. The deal comes after years of struggles for Pizza Hut. In the U.S., the pizza chain has transitioned from the sit-down format and salad bars to focus on delivery and carry-out, far behind the curve. Rival Domino's Pizza has taken market share from Pizza Hut for years, while third-party delivery apps like DoorDash have further stolen sales from the chain. That's the Raw Naked Truth for June 17th, 2026. Remember to like and subscribe to the Raw Naked Truth wherever you find podcasts. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio podcast network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.